All right, so let's talk about Wrath of Man. Right, this is the newest film from Guy Ritchie. It's loosely based off of a French film called Shock, which I would
Right.
actually love to see after seeing this. Ricardo, take it away. What was Wrath of Man about?
All right. So it's Jason Statham is the like a former soldier, I think, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
well, all right. So basically, the beauty of it is that you don't really know what his line of work was
Right.
until like later on. But it's kind of implied that he has skills, right? You know what I mean? Like in true Liam Neeson's fashion, or I should
Right.
say Jesus Statham's fashion. Yeah, he knows his way around guns, and yeah, he's a badass. He could hold himself, right?
Yeah. So he's recruited back into the group in what is call it police crime group for security now. Not police security like
Yeah, it's really like this
right.
armor truck company
Right.
basically. It's
It's
called
like right, armored, right, a
yeah,
security
yeah,
company.
Fortico. Yeah, it's called Fortico Security.
Right, and they basically they get a string of robberies. They bring him back to help them out, and then things go all right. And they have a little shenanigans ensues, and you find out the truth behind what he was doing. And yeah, that is it. It's just well, everything else is spoilers after that, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
and we really had to keep things spoiler free
yeah,
for
because
this
I'll get
one. This
yeah
needs to be
for real.
spoiler free.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here's the thing. If it wasn't for the gentleman that came out a couple years back, I'd have liked this more. But this was a clear step down to the gentleman. Like clear step down.
I agree, but I would make the argument though that it's it's basically Guy Ritchie doing something different, like probably for the first time in his career, because this is like a far departure from like stuff like the Gentleman and Snatch and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels and stuff like that. And whether and I have a feeling that your overall enjoyment of this movie will weigh on whether you like his signature style as
Yeah.
opposed to this particular style here that he gives us. But I'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, go on.
But that's pretty much it. I mean, I couldn't help but compare because I was just so underwhelmed with this, to be honest. Um, for what it was trying to do, and I get it, but like if you're real into this, you would kind of care. But I just couldn't get into this anyway, not because like yeah, I just keep comparing myself to other films, and it almost felt like something kind of like a borderline parody of a crime film. Like it was trying to be Heat, but like trying to be a funny version of Heat, but like failing to be funny, and I couldn't get into this at all. And I was just thinking of like other crime films that did this stuff so much better. So like yeah, like okay, for research purposes, I give the movie Rififi a rewatch. And you
Wow,
know,
big shooter.
yeah,
Big
classic, right?
shooter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
classic.
Kids ask your parents. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
No. My mistake. Kids, Google that, please.
yeah,
Google it.
Google that shit. Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody who
and
involved
it's
in
it's
that
part
dead
of the
film.
it's part of the criteria collection
Right,
for a reason. I need to own it one day, but when that time comes up. But whatever. Go on.
right. But the point I'm making is that it was just like this. It was so underwhelming as a crime script. No? Especially with the supposed twist at the end. I was like, yeah, that's all right. That's not that great. It's fine, I suppose. But I wasn't so particularly impressed with the whole thing going forward as it is. And I had fun with it, yeah, but it's only because of the Jason Statham part. That's it. But ultimately, I wasn't impressed with the whole thing. It was fine, but I couldn't get into it.
All right. So I imagine that there will be two sides to two sets of people who will how and who will respond to this, right? There'll be those who pretty much expect the sort of stylish Guy Ritchie style film,
Yeah,
you know, with anything with his name on it, right? And there'll be those like me who will really appreciate when a director ever so often, right? Let's see that he have to do this going forward, but ever so often will kind of just step out of his comfort zone and do something a little bit different, right? And this to me is, well, I'm on that side, right? And this to me is why I surprisingly enjoyed this, like way more than I expected, right? This is not to say that this is the perfect movie, mind you. No, it's not, right? But the funny thing, like I think the reason why I enjoy this so much is that okay, so little shout out, right, to the guys at Pure Cinema, right, Pure Cinema Podcast, right, or PCP, right. This is great podcast. Basically, it's just these two guys just talking about films of different genres. So they just kind of talk about best horror films of the 70s or best cult films of the 80s, right. But what makes the reason why I listen to it is that they ever so often they would invite my boy Quentin Tarantino.
Right.
And they would just spend like literal hours just talking about, hey, what I mean, like this show that came out in the 60s, and I'm always a fan of this guy, and I always remember when he started in this show back in like whenever, right? And just that film nerdiness that I would just love to attain one day, like like just knowing, oh, I just saw this guy's entire filmography. Like that's not me. I just go for shows that I just love or whatever, right? And while I was watching this, I was like, this is the type of show that Tarantino would not just love, but he would put this as one of the best movies he's seen for like the year or for the
Right.
decade. And I just couldn't help but think about it while I was watching this, right? Because for me, like why this film works for me, right, is that this felt like a grimy ass 70s crime slash revenge film.
Right.
It just felt like that. It was so unapologetically dark and grim though, and like the time I watched it, it's like, wait, but Guy Ritchie doing this? Like what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it just felt so different from what we got before now. Not
Right.
saying like his films never went deep and dark before. I mean, look at Snatch,
Right.
right? But they always had a level of humor to it now. But here the
I,
humor was crass. It was
yeah,
just
but
kind of
I don't know.
like the what I say,
Again,
it's kind of
did you
bordering
see
on
the
non.
gentleman?
I did, yeah, yeah.
But that's the thing. I couldn't help but compare it to the gentleman. It's like
Well, but
all the things I say, all the
yeah,
things they're saying is like, yeah, but gentlemen do this better though. It's like,
yeah, I
oh,
understand, right?
yeah,
But okay, so I think another well, all right. So another reason why I enjoy this a lot too is because it's based off of another film, right?
right.
So
So I
but
never saw Cash Struck. So I would like to see
yeah,
just to make a
neither
bit
me,
of
neither me.
comparison.
So
Right,
I would like to think that a majority of what happens in this show is reminiscent of that film, right?
you're right,
But I didn't know that it was based off of a film going in, right? I just saw a
right,
trailer
right.
months ago.
Yeah,
And
it's Guy
I just
Ritchie.
went to this one. I was like, all right, well, Guy Ritchie doing a crime thing. Okay, cool. But
Exactly.
like as the movie starts now, you're like, well, wait now, but this feeling a little different, right? And then
Yeah,
when I see based on this film, blah blah blah
yeah. It's
blah,
not
like,
his story.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. So this is why it feels different, right? It has that kind of vibe. What it reminds me of actually, just bringing up Tarantino, it reminds me of like Jackie Brown, remember from
Right, right.
'97, right? Where it's based off of a novel. It's not a film that he wrote. Sorry, it's not a story that he wrote, right? People kind of didn't like it because it was so different and it wasn't like Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs, right? And over time people kind of consider it to be one of his best films, right? Not one of my favorites, but it really is one of his more mature films, right? And I would say the same thing here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, here is him trying, and not saying that he completely sticks the landing, but really trying to make a genre film, right? And as a genre film, I felt like, nah, boy, this didn't need to be as good as it was, but it actually was done way better than I actually thought.
Okay. Yeah.
It is very hard boiled from the dialogue to the characters, a majority of which are unlikable.
Right.
It just really feels like this dark neo-noirish film trend. And yeah, I mean, like, there's no moral compass to a majority of these characters at all, Dread. Like, even right down to Jason, who, yeah, you know what I mean, we learn bits of information about him, and we wondering why he's so cool with a gun, and you get some great moments with him. Case in point, one involving I forgot he was in this like Post Malone, which was funny as well.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like the line that
But
he gave
I
before
thought
he
Post
killed him, I
Malone
was
was
like, all right,
terrible
that
in
hard.
this.
Oh yeah, he was bad. He was terrible.
I thought he was pretty
Yeah,
bad at this. It's little stuff like that. I was like, I don't know. I find the quality it was just not there for me. But whatever. I mean,
yeah,
look. Yeah.
yeah. But is when is and one thing that they do right. They actually akin to Tarantino films, they break it up in chapters, right? But what the chapter does, I mean, like similar to like Snatch, for example, they tell this nonlinear story now. But in this nonlinear story, you learn more about who Jason is, right? And we wouldn't say what it is, right? And it just opens up this darker, deeper hole, basically. This cavern into just crime and just murkiness, and it just shocked me. Like, wow, this is where we going,
Yeah.
okay? And
Yeah.
then it
Yeah.
goes even deeper. We could make the argument that it's probably not necessary,
Yeah.
where they have some other bad guys and they give them like a little backstory too. But thankfully, the show doesn't give them much, but it gives them enough to be like, okay, that's why these guys with these skills would do the things that they do. And I think that at the heart, that's what the show is about. Is guys who
Right.
have skills, and it's like, well, yeah, we could kill people with us, so let me just do what we could do. And yeah, you know what? If we had to kill people, we kill people, right?
Right.
That's really what it is. That's at the heart of what this show is about, right? So no, you're not really supposed to like anybody in the show, not even Jason himself, right? But Jason himself, they just give him just enough characterization. It's not a lot, but just enough for it to be like, okay, I could smile when you do your thing, and I can understand why you're doing it, Tread. That don't mean I don't like you, but I can get why you're doing it though. And just to touch on Tarot, again, it feels like like him growing up in the 70s, right? He has a thing for Charles Bronson and Steve McQueen,
Yeah.
right? Those characters who just kind of embody themselves with every role. And I feel like that is what Jesus Statham is in the show. Is like he is Jesus Statham. He's not trying to be anybody else. He's Jesus Statham, right? So if you find he have little range, then that's you. But he is just being him, and I thought that he being him was a great choice, Jed. And yeah, you do buy him into being this real cold-blooded guy, you know what I mean? But he has a reason for doing the things that he does, and especially when you learn about why he signed up to work with these guys in the first place, the amateur company in the first place. It makes sense, right? Also, I felt the third act was really kick ass. Actually, just a great shootout as well. And especially where it all leads to the end, like the end in particular, are really really dark though. But as a whole, like my reason for liking this show is not going to be the same for many other people. Like some people will just like it because the action look cool and Jason get to be a badass, and oh, we see in a story, but it's all non-linear, which is nothing new, right? As a matter of fact, the show itself, the premise wise, isn't really anything new at all. You mentioned Heat, right? Yeah, Heat is a perfect example of what the show is referencing that, right? But again, because it's a genre film, because it's based off of an old film or whatnot, and because they really go in for like these genre trappings, shit, I was like, yeah, this is like just pure neo noir put into a Guy Ritchie film in a way like I never saw before, Trent. You know what I mean? So that legit blew my mind, right? Um, in closing, I don't like I'm not sure how time will treat this film. Like I don't know if people will look back at this and be like, you know what? You are really out of the show, though. This is probably like an underrated classic in a way. Or if people will be like, nah, this guy like drop the ball,
I,
man. Like you have
yeah.
your style, keep your style. Like why you doing why you trying to be Tarantino, even though to be honest, he's not trying to be Tarantino, right? But
Yeah.
why you doing this when you did stuff like Gentlemen and stuff like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's always gonna have that sort of contrast and conflict, basically, right? But I do applaud the fact that he did something different. He stepped out of his comfort zone and did something new. And yeah, I mean, like for that is reason enough for me to consider this to be one of his better films in terms of like his return basically, right? You know what I mean? But again, I'm not sure how time will treat it. I'm not even sure how Guy Ritchie fans will treat it in the long run. But I would just say in general before I get to written, just if you look at it as adaptation, it's adaptation of a show.
Right. Right.
He's going for that, and it's dark and grim because it has to be, I guess. You know what I mean? So, but it's not like what you would expect from his other stuff. Then appreciate it for that. But if you prefer the Guy Ritchie isms, then you probably wouldn't like it.
Yep. That's
But for
exactly
me,
the problem.
yeah, but for me
Uh,
personally, I would give this a strong four. I wanted to give this a
wow.
like 4.5 out of 5, but I like nah. Let me see how time plays over this. Let me just see how I feel about it in 2 3 years when I
Yeah.
watch it, right? But in terms of just it being a genre film from top to bottom, and no apologies for it. Yeah, I was like thoroughly impressed by it. I was shocked though, honestly, but I could totally understand though why some diehard Richie fans wouldn't like this at all. Final thoughts and rating.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I give it a like a 6 out of 10, maybe a 5 out of 10, because I was just find it just felt so derivative. I couldn't get into it. And again, if it wasn't for the Gentleman that came out a couple years ago, I'd be like, all right, this kind of fun, and I ain't really, I ain't get my crime thriller scratch in a while, so great. But nah, it doesn't work for me. Because the gentleman, it just kind of undermined that whole thing. But it is all right for what it is, what it was trying to
Right.
do.
Fair enough. Understood. All right. So another show that people might not take all that well is The Conjuring. The Devil Maybe Do It. Right. This is the newest film in the Conjuring universe. This is the third film in The Conjuring, as in the title series. And I would say, because I think I've only covered the second film and Annabelle Creation in terms of the Conjuring universe. Um, I am not the biggest fan of this series though.
Right.
I I did really enjoy the first Conjuring movie, right? I do think it is easily one of the best horror movies of the 2010s. Why I really dug it in particular is that it brought 70s horror back. Like
Yeah.
it was a 70s horror throwback, like right down to the opening text, the crawling text in yellow is very much like the Omen, very much like the Amityville horror, like just that kind of vibe now. And like the movie was rated R for just being scary dread, you know what I mean? And like, yeah, I mean, for what they did with that show, it was very effective though. And like I never forgot, I don't normally go cinema to watch horrors unless they get like really good ratings now. So I went to
Yeah.
that one and I enjoyed the hell out of that one, but
Yeah, you didn't
um
expect it to be as good as it was. Yeah, it
yeah,
was.
I actually enjoyed the sequel as well, but I would make the argument that the sequel felt like a Evil Dead 2 kind of vibe where we have a bigger budget, so let me go bigger and better, but basically it's the same story like the first one, except they move it from the States and they put it in England, right? But in a way, it is the same thing basically, but just bigger, right? And yeah, I totally dug it. And as far as the spin-off films or the other films in the universe, the only one I saw honestly was Annabelle Creation. And I was because I saw the first Annabelle, hated it. It was trash. But the second one though, I shockingly I actually saw it twice in cinema, and I was just shocked at how great it was in terms of, again, like a throwback horror film. You know what I mean? This doll that's demon possessed and all the creepy weird shit that goes on in this house with the people who own it, right? But when it comes to stuff like the Nun and the Curse of La Llorona and even Annabelle Comes Home, I've skipped those because I just heard just bad things about them,
Right.
criticism wise, basically, right? So with this one here, it's like, okay, well, we gain a part three to the Conjuring stuff that, and to me personally, like, I'm not saying don't make a universe out of it. I mean, if it does have its diehard fan base, right? Like, I am not in the camp of people who love to seek out stories about, oh, this exorcism that took place in the 70s
Well,
and
the thing is,
the
the
stuff with
story,
demon possession and blah.
yeah,
I'm
the
not
suppose
into that,
what
you
it,
know?
what it does, no, what it does really well is that it exploits the whole Catholic real world bullshit thing. Now. It's like, oh well, this was a true story. Did you know that? It's
Yeah.
not. They were frauds. Like they were real people, but it's bullshit. Like that's the whole thing.
Okay, so as I
Yeah,
say that, right? To be fair, right? The I have made it a must. Like, sorry, like I don't even seek out videos or articles to say,
right,
oh, the stuff that took place in this movie happened in real life. I just kind of treat it like, okay, it's sort of fabrications, but I
right.
just don't have the time or patience to. And besides, like I said, I just don't obsess over these things now. So I don't want to
No, well,
know if,
but the thing
well,
is,
if the events
here's the
here
thing.
really
The thing,
happened. Like,
the thing is, that's a big part of the marketing, right? That's why it is sell. If you, especially Catholicism, like especially in America, America's still like super obsessed about Catholics, right? For some reason, right? Oh well, Catholics do this, and it's like this mysterious kind of borderline cult kind of aspect to it, and that's why they sell these things for what they are. Oh, is this ghost, and is this, and this happened that it is general discussion. Sorry to say it. That is how it is. But
mhm.
yeah, it's part of the marketing. Well, go
Right,
ahead.
yeah, it is, it's right. So what this story is about, right? The Devil Made Me Do It, right? This is actually the first of the Conjuring films, right? Not saying the universe, but the films set in the 80s, well, the early 80s now, right? So we are reunited with Ed and Lorraine Warren, right? So they are paranormal investigators, husband and wife, played by Patrick Wilson and
Yeah,
Vera Farmiga. Um, and he said she starts off with them investigating this case with this 8-year-old boy who gets possessed, right? and in the process of trying to exorcise him, his friend, who, sorry, well, basically it's the boyfriend to his sister, to the boy's sister, right?
Yeah.
He, in this last minute ditch, was just like, all right, well, take me, right? Talking to the spirit. And the spirit pretty much inhabits him, right? And we kind of assume that that's it, pretty much, but not really. Also, in the process, Ed is pretty much hit. Well, pretty much his heart, attacked in the heart, basically, right? Like gripped in the heart, right? And in the process, he, well, he kind of passes out. He's taken to the hospital and all that kind of stuff, right? And eventually he comes out, what I mean, but he's still feeling that, effect of, being attacked by, the possessed kid, right? But now back to the boyfriend of, well, his name is Anne, basically, right? Anne Johnson, right? Yeah, so eventually, sorry, he starts to see a bunch of weird stuff. It's even to the point that he murders someone and he is taken to court. And this is actually the first time, I believe, in history where, yeah, the cause of the murder was demonic
Right.
possession, right? And of course, the court themselves, well, I mean, the people involved don't really know what to do. So Ed and Lorraine is like, all right, well, we will investigate this. We will prove this kid's innocence, right? And this just takes them into a journey where they have to go back to the same house. And then also there's another case that took place years ago. And because Lorraine is a psychic, she's seen, the events of the past of that incident play out. But it also leads her to, well, basically, this satanic cult who pretty much cursed the kid, the boy, sorry, and also cursed the Warrens as well. And they have the sort of, nefarious plans as well, right? And yeah, I'll stop here. So, just to get this out of the way, no, this is not the best Conjuring movie out there, right? It's a step down, but I would say not a huge step down, in my opinion. And my reason being is just that it's from a different director, right? It's from Michael Chaves. I believe he directed the Curse of La Llorona, which I actually heard was good, but I just didn't get around to see it, right? So it
Yeah,
feels
it's one of
different,
those.
you know?
I don't think. Okay, so La Llorona was okay, but
All right,
the only reason it worked kind of is because of the cultural thing. Like it play on that whole. Like I could understand why you would make this decision from a marketing standpoint because like Dice is sell for all of this stuff, right? You want to scare some Mexican grandmother somewhere.
right,
That's how it
right.
is, at least it's come across to me. That's why it's made the way it is, and it have all of that dimensionality to it. So I don't know. That's but it was alright. But yeah, I
Okay,
don't know.
okay, okay.
It's a
I
different mindset of how you think about this stuff. In
right.
terms of like who what's scary to who and why, right? It's a cultural thing. Well,
Yeah. Okay, okay. All right. Yeah, so it's a different director, right? So it's not James Wan anymore because James Wan doing this stuff, right? He do anything, right? So yeah, it is a different film. It's not a haunted house story anymore.
right.
It's about a kid being demon possessed. It's a curse. And for the first time ever, we actually get like a real villain, like a human villain actually. This I would call her a priestess basically, and though we don't get more of her, though, like I wish we got a little bit more backstory into who she is because it's just, oh, you know what I mean? I am just this satanic person, and I'm just doing this stuff because demon shit, right? You know what I mean? But she will go down as one of the most fearsome characters in the Conjuring universe, just easily, right? Just the way how she looks, the way how they bring her into the story, her skill sets and all that. Yeah, she was quite frightening in my opinion, right?
Right.
Yeah, reason why, but the thing is, yeah, in terms of it being a step down, is that yeah, I mean it's a different film. It's a different era. So for me, and I guess for people going in, you just have to kind of treat it as well. We're not doing Conjuring 1 and 2 anymore. It's its own thing. So you're like whether you like it or not, this is it, right? But I mean, it still has the stuff that made those first two movies great, right? First off, being the sound design. The sound design is excellent. Especially with this one though. Yeah, like the sound design was so effective too. Points where you don't hear anything and you just know you're gonna hear something, right? Or some kind of big dang, right?
Yeah.
And it's
And
it's
then
how they
you put something in the negative space to catch it.
Yeah. They do that, but fortunately they don't do too much of it, right? So it's like okay, you'll get a pass for that, right? Also this was like a shockingly I want to say gorgeous, well-made film though. Like,
Right. Yeah.
cinematography wise, yeah, this shit look like excellent in my opinion though.
Nice.
Like, it just nails the spookiness though. Like, this really does look legit like a
Yeah.
spooky film, Dread, and it works, right?
I
The
heard, I heard,
acting,
people, I heard a lot of people really liked it, and they say this is the reason why HBO Max was worth it. I'm like, all right, this is
I'm gonna talk about Ichiro Max and stuff like that a bit, right?
yeah,
Yeah. The acting is still good, right? I mean, Patrick Wilson, Vera Farmiga, they're still good, right?
yeah,
And what I do like here is that they touch more on just them as a couple, right?
right.
There's a nice little flashback involving how they met for the first time. I wish that they could have kind of showed how they became paranormal investigators in the first place.
Right, right, right.
Because it would have been cool just for them to be like, oh, well, we're into this. And, oh, you're a psychic? Okay. And I'm into the church and I'm all about exorcising demons. So,
Right.
yeah, let me get hit. Right? Like, it would have been nice to show that. But it was just like, the chance encounter, how they met. And, it was nice, right? And especially how it weighs on the relationship, too, especially with Ed being affected the way he was, right? And then also with Lorraine and what she's seeing and just basically moments with her seeing through the eyes of the villain and back and forth and all that kind of stuff. So you got that kind of tension where, oh my god, like if we do something now, I may lose Ed, or I may lose Lauren and all that kind of stuff, right? um if you're familiar with the Conjuring films itself, you know the style of horror you're gonna get.
Right.
It's flashy, it's loud, it's demon possession stuff and all that kind of stuff, which personally is not my cup of tea. Like, it's something that I would say one of the few subgenres of horror that I generally like avoid. But because of how good these movies are, I could just roll into it there. And you get that, right? You get the goods, right? And I know for fans of the universe, they'll enjoy that. Some people, but when it comes to criticism, no, I have a feeling that some people will find this just to be the same old same. It's like, all right, well, been there, seen that. We know jump scare. Okay, the power of Christ compels you. We
Yeah.
know characters bending their limbs backwards. We know, So, but because I'm not the biggest fan of this series itself, the universe itself, I'm not gonna be that person to say, yeah, this series needs to wrap up. It's getting old, it's getting stale, right? That had to be like, people who either just not too invested in the series itself, or just people who just kind of fed up, right? And yeah, I mean, some people might just watch this and be like, well, oh gosh, man, like, just done this, right? But it has a diehard fan base, right? And I would say, in terms of like a horror franchise, this one kind of feels like there's still more stories that could be told, right? I can't see the same for side stories like La Llorona or Annabelle, but see stuff like Conjuring, for example. I could see like maybe one or two more films, and then you just wrap everything up, right? And yeah, I mean, in terms of just like just the films as a whole, I could see these being like like making for some great some horror movie marathons, or double features or whatnot. Like they have shelf life. They really have shelf life, right? And
It's
they
like the
put so much
paranormal.
effort into making them look good and polished
Yeah,
that, yeah,
exactly.
what I mean. So it will appeal, sorry, to old school fans of 70s horror films, right? And to our generation too, right? And even like folks who grew up on stuff like paranormal activity,
Exactly.
sorry,
Right.
who
Right.
just want to go cinema just to jump, right, and stuff like that. And speaking of which, before I get to read it, this is one that I actually wouldn't mind seeing in big screen, on big screen, sorry. Can have like just enough scares to get people interested. We have enough moments where people will be shouting or laughing. You know what I mean? Run and all that kind of stuff. It has that, right? But as far as the HBO Max thing goes, yes, admittedly, this is one of the, the better films to come out of that streaming platform for this year, right? I would make the argument that Godzilla vs Kong is one, but that all
Right.
depends
Yeah.
on how
You feel about it.
your yeah how you approach that show.
Yeah.
But yeah, from the duds that we got this year, boy, this one was a W though, actually.
I'll still holding out hope for Matrix 4.
I still waited for a trailer though. I
You
still
know,
waited for
that's
the trailer.
why I'm worried about. It's like we still have to see a trailer by now, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, whatever.
So I'll say though, in closing, before I get to rating, if you are a fan, you need to see this, and I have a feeling that you're gonna enjoy it for what it is.
Yep.
If you find it to be kind of, or whether you're a fan or not, if you find films of this nature to be kind of stale and old and dull, because I mean, how much times you gonna see the same old same? To be honest, yeah, you probably wouldn't like this one though. But
Right.
to be fair, to the show's credit, it is doing something a little bit different. Not just hiring somebody new to direct, but also new setting. We're not gonna do the haunted house stuff anymore. We're gonna do something a bit different, right? As far as the longevity of this series, I can't really say, but I have a feeling that there's still a few more decent enough stories that they could pull out of this universe actually, and put out, right. But yeah, for what it's worth, this movie was fine, man, and I actually recommend checking it out, right. So for me, I'll give this a strong treat, a very light 3.5 out of 5, man. It's high for what it is, right.
Yeah.
Not as good as the first two, honestly, though. But like if you plan to do like a Conjuring triple feature, yeah, put this on, man. You'll laugh out with it, man. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. I mean, check it out, man. Check it out. But again, if this is not your cup of tea, don't even bother. Or particularly if you're just fed up of paranormal movies, yeah, this one is not gonna win you over at all.
Right.
Hey, this is Matthew Bailey, and I hope you've enjoyed this segment of the BS Beats and Bailey podcast. If you'd like to hear the full episode, hit up my link tree. On the other side of my head are 2 videos you can check out. Like this video if you like it, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell as well. Thanks for listening, and until the next one, take care, peace.